Warhammer 40k Boltgun is a first-person shooter that was developed by Auroch Digital and published by Focus Entertainment. It was released in May of 2023 with a 5-level expansion entitled Forges of Corruption being released in June of this year. Boltgun presents the 40k grimdark universe in something that is along the lines of a boomer shooter. Playing as an ultramarine, a soldier in servitude to the Imperium of Man, you can carry the entire arsenal at once, and you hit like a freaking truck. Running in Unreal Engine 4, Boltgun has a gorgeous art style, combining what is familiar to fans of this universe with a heavily retro, pixelated aesthetic. Environments are 3-dimensional, while weapons and enemies are all 2D sprites. Boltgun is the kind of game that makes you want to stop during brief moments of downtime to look around yourself and soak in the atmosphere. The dark Gothic architecture is a wonder to behold, and it is represented very well within the game's retro aesthetic. And while a lot of environments can look similar due to this consistent architecture, the developers did a good job at creating lots of environmental variety, with snowy landscapes, industrial areas, monumental religious locales, caverns, and deserts, just to name a few. Along the way, we push through hordes of chaos demons and other forces of chaos, including various types of hulking chaos space marines. Then, of course, there are the Nurglings, Plague Toads, and Ambuls. Aside from these more regular enemy types, there are also a few boss types that show up multiple times throughout the campaign, including a Chaos Sorcerer that serves as basically the main boss of the game, as well as the Great Unclean One and the Lord of Change. In the expansion, another boss of sorts shows up as the Hell Brute, an even more massive and powerful tool for the forces of chaos. If you are like myself and didn't know much about 40k going into Boltgun, these names won't mean anything to you. But if you step into the shoes of this ultramarine, you will certainly learn in due time. Fortunately, we are a force to be reckoned with in this game, and the game does a pretty good job at blending the speed of a boomer shooter with the weighty feeling of an ultramarine in his power armor. It's not perfect, as this means that Boltgun can feel clunkier than other boomer shooters that have come out recently, especially with a weapon swap speed that is very slow for my liking. However, the movement does certainly feel unique. The arsenal is fairly vast and every gun feels powerful. We have access to weapons like the awesome chainsword, great for finishing off tougher enemies and one-shotting weaker ones. And of course, the almighty bolter. For a starter weapon, this thing feels beefy. And rightfully so, since it is essentially firing what are equivalent to tiny rockets. There's also the Heavy Bolter, which is exactly what it sounds like, with the trade-off for higher damage being that it slows down the player's movement speed significantly. It is probably best to hang around a spot where you have some protection when firing this thing. Obviously, what boomer shooter is complete without a shotgun? Yeah, Boltgun has one of those too. It doesn't rewrite the book on shotgun design, but it is pretty satisfying and has decent range. When it comes to the more explosive options, there is the Vengeance launcher, which functions a bit like a grenade launcher with timed projectiles. And there is also the incredibly fun Plasma Gun, which behaves more like a plasma-powered rocket launcher than what you might expect, with the downside being that it overheats if fired continuously for too long, and this can damage the player. If you like focused laser weapons, Boltgun has you covered there as well. In fact, there are two weapons that fit this role. The first being the Volkite Caliver, and the even more powerful Grav Cannon, which is essentially the game's BFG. If you like fire-spewing shotgun-adjacent weapons, there is the brutally deadly Melt-A-Gun, and the expansion cranks this weapon up a notch with the crazy Multi-Melt-A-Gun. It should also be noted that the expansion adds a more traditional rocket launcher that doesn't seem too amazing until you realize that it does incredibly high damage, not without also incredible splash damage. Grenades are another tool in our belt, and these include timed frag grenades and crack grenades that explode upon impact. The best and rarest grenade in Boltgun, however, is the Vortex grenade. Be on the lookout for these because they absolutely melt bosses, which can take quite some time to put down otherwise. All of these tools get put to great use in the various combat encounters, some being of the more incidental variety, with others putting the player against wave upon wave of enemy hordes as the screen gets a red filter and the purging of heretics goes into full swing. My critiques of these portions of gameplay are that the red filter does obscure the player's vision a bit too much, and these arena fights can go on for far too long in the Forges of Corruption expansion especially. All in all, however, Boltgun is a great time. It's not perfect and it doesn't do anything too innovative, but it is fun with all of its gorgeous environments, hard-hitting weaponry, blood, gore, and good old ultra-violence. It also is just a great way to experience the 40K universe, especially if you are a fan of first-person shooters. And with that, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like and subscribe, and dislike it if you absolutely hated it. As always, enjoy the rest of your day.